Let's talk about ways that we might be able to look at our essential self and find it. But before we go there, I want to share something that really struck me that I found, and it's from Fred Rogers of the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood PBS show. He was picked on as a young boy because he was a little overweight and he didn't do things the same way as all of the other children did. Sounds like his essential self was a little different than they were. And he had a sign hanging in his office, and it was from The Little Prince. And it was in French, and I'm not going to attempt to tell you what the French was, but what it says is, anything essential is invisible to the eyes. I love that quote, and I love it coming from someone who worked with children, because we talked about children, and he was so sure of how he handled himself with children because he was living out his own experience as a child himself and recognizing the importance of seeing that essential self in every child and in every person. So I'm going to give you some tools now that maybe you can use as you are trying to balance your social self and your essential self. And I hope that they are helpful to you. The first one comes from Don Miguel Ruiz from the Four Agreements, and he says, be aware, have awareness. It's so important that you notice when you're getting all caught up in the social life. And remember, maybe you're feeling negative, you're feeling unhappy, you're feeling angry. When you notice those feelings, be aware of them. Look at them. What Don Miguel Ruiz would say is it the victim? What is it in me that's creating it? Is it the judge? But be aware of it. The second one is curiosity. As we age, we lose our curiosity. You watch children, very young children as we talked about, that we called wild, but as we look at young children, as they are seeing things for the first time, they live in the present moment. They don't worry about the past, they don't worry about the future, they live in the present moment, and they'll get down there in the grass and they will study that caterpillar, or they will look very closely at that flower, or they will look at that rabbit running through the yard. They have curiosity. We need to find our own curiosity to get ourselves back to our essential self. The third is setting intention. It is so important that we set an intention of what we want to change in ourselves, because as long as we go along merrily the way we're going, things are going to stay the same. And if we want to change the world one person at a time, we've got to be that person that starts to change. So, set an intention. What is it that you want life to look like? How do you want to balance that social and those two parts of yourself? How do you want to balance them? And finally, take time to get away. When the world is coming at you so strongly and you feel overwhelmed, is the time that maybe you need to take some quiet time. Find some way to get away. Jesus was probably the best example of that, the great way shower. And I have to say, I believe whether or not it looked like he was joyful, of course he loved the children being with him, so he's a great teacher of the importance of looking at children for great lessons for us as adults. But I know in my heart that he understood his essential self. He understood that who he was within himself was the real Jesus of Nazareth. And when things became overwhelming for him, he went away. He would go into the desert by himself. He would find ways to get away and spend time alone, spend time with the divine. And then he could come back because he was rejuvenated. And we need to do that too. So we've got to be aware, we've got to be curious, we've got to have intention, and then we've got to recognize when we need to take time away. Ernest Holmes, I believe, was so in touch with his essential self. And we even are teaching a class here in the fall called The Essential Ernest Holmes. And I thought about the name of that class, and I thought, how interesting, The Essential Ernest Holmes. Because Ernest was very aware of what was going on around him, and he would say, you've got to be aware in the interior of yourself. That's where our essential self is existing, is within us. It's not the superficial social part around us, it's within us. He was certainly curious. He was the youngest of, I believe it was 9 boys, and he had a nickname of the question mark. Now what a goofy name. I mean, kids now go question mark, but he had that nickname because he was curious. He read, he studied, he asked questions. That is the reason we have this beautiful teaching that we have now, because he didn't stop. He didn't stop his curiosity. And I love that, because I think, look at the gift he's given us because he was curious. And we know that Ernest set intentions. He was a tremendous prayer. He and his wife Hazel. They could create, they couldn't, but with using the power that is available to all of us, that is always giving us everything. They were able to do prayers that did wonderful things for people. They didn't, but they understood how to use that power. And they set an intention that they would use that power to create something with it. I don't know if Ernest Holmes ever took time away. He did do a lot of social things in his life. He enjoyed parties and that kind of thing. He loved his wife Hazel very much. So whether or not they did, it never, that I've read, has been written, but one day we may find out. He did have a very, a space where he could go, where he could be with himself and reconnect. So what I want to say to you is to be sure to find become aware, become curious, set an intention, and then have some nice quiet time for yourself to recharge, so that that essential self can really shine within you, and you can be a beacon of light in this world. Now what I'm going to suggest is, for the meditation at the end of this insight, that you use the loving kindness meditation for yourself. That particular meditation is designed to be used for you, for friends, for others, even for the unlovely. But I'm going to encourage you to quietly to yourself say, may I be happy. May I be joy-filled. May I feel that absolute clarity of the child within me, that essential child. And then use anything else that comes to you and allow that to just work through your being. And remember, enjoy life, enjoy your essential self, and have fun. That's why we're here, to have fun and fill the world with laughter and joy. Thank you.
And so it is in this moment that I attune to this infinite divine presence. A divine presence that we call many names. And in these names, the divine is contained. And yet, it is not even the name that we call it. For the divine presence is something of an infinite power that sometimes we understand and sometimes we cannot even understand, and yet it is that oneness, that love, that harmony. It is the infinite power from which everything is made. Right here, right now, attuning to this knowing that goes beyond my knowing, and yet I can feel it, I can sense it, I recognize the existence of this power, this love, this peace. And so because I know that it exists and I feel the presence and I attune with the presence by simply and completely breathing, I know the breath is life and the life is divine, and the divine is in every breath I take. So it is a constant reminder that I am one, and that the divine that I understand is a part of me, as it is a part of everyone. In each breath we are always sharing the divine presence, this wholeness, this love, this harmony, this peace that is beyond understanding. And so, in this moment of sacred communion, in union with the One, I affirm and know that just as it is for myself, this knowing of wholeness and oneness and presence, I declare it to be the essence of all beings in this planet, that we tap into that sense of union and communion and harmony and wholeness. I see this wholeness revealing as well-being, as divine right action, as that presence that is within each and every soul walking in this journey, fully as individualized expressions of the divine God, the divine Goddess, the infinite love divine that is the indwelling presence manifested as everyone. So taking a moment to really be in the presence, I feel and know and declare that this presence is right here, right now, at the core of every being that walks in the planet. I declare, I affirm, I see the light of truth, the wholeness, and the harmonious way of being expressed in every man, woman, and child. I see this expression of wholeness as the seasons of change and the changes that we all experience, especially in these days, where it seems like we are in that turn that is turning us to move within to that place of harmony and wholeness and truth within us. Just sensing, tapping in, tuning in. I see, I feel, and I express fully this divinity that I see also as the light of humanity, as we all see one another interconnected, each and every person expressing uniquely and authentically, making a ripple effect, creating the world that we all get to enjoy, to be with, to celebrate. And so it is in this state of just sacred wholeness, being in this space within the divine, as the divine express. I am just grateful to be here in this moment, in this space, where I know, right here, right now, right where I am, right where we are, as a whole family in this world, we create peace, harmony, and wholeness, for it is the revelation of who we already are. So resting in gratitude for knowing this, I just let go, knowing that as I release these prayers, they have already been heard, and they are manifesting right here, right now. So I let go, allowing and totally surrendering. And so it is.